Well, a very good morning to Mr. John and my fellow friends. Thank you for taking the time to listen. My name is Yeoh Xiao Ni and I'm the discussion director for this time. Well, Ling Hui Hui will be the illuminator and connector for this discussion, and Ho Yiqi would be the word catcher and summarizer. Now, I'm here today to talk to you about a short story, Jack and the Beanstalk. I would like to start the discussion by saying that Jack and the Beanstalk is an English tale of a gnome. It arose as the story of Jack Spriggins and the Enchanted Bean in 1734, and as Benjamin Talbot edified the history of Jack and the Beanstalk in 1807. Henry Cole, publishing under pen name Felix Summerlee, popularized the fable in the Home Treasury in 1845, and Joseph Jacobs rewrote it in English Fairy Tales in 1890. Jacobs' version is most frequently reprinted to the present day, and is believed to be closer to the oral versions than Taurat's because it lacks the moralizing. Ho, what do you think this text was about?
Well, for me, Jack and the Beanstalk is an infamous children's literature which held a never-ending secret tribute on the moral perspectives of the protagonist, Jack, the little boy who helped his indigent family background to prosper by stealing valuables from the ogre. Some people believe that this story portrays a filial piety boy who is very brave enough to get the valuables from the ogre in order to improve his family. In contrast, some people, especially parents, are worried that this story would affect children's understanding about robbery negatively as Jack illegally stole valuables from the ogre. From my point of view, the controversy regarding the moral perspective will always be continuing as each and everyone holds different perspectives while reading the story. Other than that, the author, Joseph Jacobs, gave no justification on this issue, but he did give subtle, retributive tone by making reference to the ogre who eats children to fill his stomach. However, according to Hollywood Report, Walt Disney Animation Studios wanted to do an adaptation of the fairy tale called Gigantic based on Jack and the Beanstalk, which was set to be released this year, was reported to be cancelled after struggling creatively with it. At the same time, it was rumored that the heated controversy regarding the moral perspectives of Jack's behavior was one of the reasons that the film was being cancelled. Although this story is one of my favorite childhood stories, which I used to envy Jack's courage to endure the risk of being eaten by the ogre in order to provide for his family. I think that I no longer look up to Jack as I grew up. This is mainly because I realized that Jack's actions in the story are totally illegal and morally wrong.
Uh, Now, Jacobs gave no indication because there was none in the version he had heard as a kid, and maintained that children know that robbery and murder are wrong without being told in a fairy tale, but did give a subtle retributive tone to it by making reference to the giant's previous meals of stolen oxen and youth. As a child, one of my beloved stories was Jack and the Beanstalk. I perceived penniless Jack as a child who was trying to do what was best for his household. And now that I'm older, I have revisited the tale and have found that there are some crucial life lessons. Now, Hui Hui, may I know your opinion regarding the story as you read?
Well, I totally agree with you that Jet and the Beanstalk gives us some crucial life lessons. As we can see from the passage where the dialogue is, "Good morning, man," says Jet, quite polite, right? "Could you be so kind as to give me some breakfast?" So from this dialogue, we can find out that Jack is quite polite, and because of this manner, the giant's wife served him well when he met her. She was nice to him when she could have just as easily served him up as a meal. No doubt his polite ways caused her to be a little more sympathetic towards him. Hence, this passage reminds us to always be polite. I still remember when I was 8 years old, I don't know how to say goodbye, good morning, or thank you to the teachers and my classmates. Because of this manner, none of the teachers recognize and are fond of me, and I also don't have any friends at school. After learning the moral lessons at school, I just realized that I should greet people appropriately and smile naturally so that I can seem like an approachable girl. Besides, I started always using please and thank you in my works. Then I detected that my relationship with teachers and classmates have improved. Thus, when we are polite and show good manners, others are more likely to be polite and courteous in return, such as the interaction between Jet and the giant's wife.
Well, that's great enough. Oh, do you agree that Jack is quite polite?
To be honest, I am partially agree with Hui Hui's opinions. Here's the reason why. First of all, it seems to me that his politeness was just a disguise for him to get the woman's trust. As we all know, first impressions are very vital when it comes to meeting new people or in the new environments. Therefore, I felt that Jack was actually trying to show his best to get the woman's trust in order to get the free breakfast from the woman in their first meeting. Furthermore, from my point of view, I suppose that Jack particularly takes advantage of the woman's trust as he steals 3 times from her and the ogre. Despite the woman always trying to protect him from the ogre by hiding him in the oven and the copper, in return, Jack misused her trust by stealing goods from her. At the same time, this act of stealing things not owned by him is totally unacceptable. Besides, his dishonesty was also shown by telling lies to enter her house was so morally wrong for me.
Well, now, we know that politeness is crucial. Now, what is politeness? Politeness is a practical application of good manners or ethics so as not to offend others. It is a culturally defined phenomenon, and therefore what is considered polite in one culture can sometimes be quite rude or simply eccentric in another cultural context. While the goal of politeness is to refrain from behaving in an offensive way so as not to offend others and make all people feel relaxed and comfortable with one another, these culturally defined standards at times may be manipulated. Politeness is not the only idea being told in the tale. Now, beside the moral value of politeness and trust, any other moral value that can come up from the story? Hui Hui?
Well, yo, I think the moral value which is included in the story is that we should not be greedy. According to the storyline, Jack took the bed of gold the first time he visited the giant's house. Then, after he and his mother lived off that gold for a quiet while, he went to the giant's house again, and this time he stole the hen that lays the golden eggs. Startlingly, for the last time, the loot that he stole is the golden harp. So now I am here to emphasize that stealing is never ever a good option to make things better.
Alright, now, as far as I am concerned, Jack and the Beanstalk raises philosophical questions about trust. At the beginning of the story, Jack sells his family's cow, presumably their most prized possession, to a stranger for 5 magic beans. Although this trust pays off the day after when the beanstalk grows as high as the clouds. The question remains if one should trust a stranger, or anyone at all for that matter. Trust can be beneficial but also dangerous, because one cannot know if the people one trusts will uphold that trust. Thus, some philosophers suggest that a certain degree of vulnerability is required in order to trust someone. What one question would you ask the writer if you got the chance, Ho?
Well, if I have the chance, I would like to ask the author what he thinks of Jack's action of stealing from the ogre. This is because I'm very curious about the author's perspective on stealing valuables from the ogre. For me, as I have mentioned above, his dishonesty actions are totally unacceptable. In my honest opinion, though the ogre feasts on children, it was still wrong to steal from the others. I believe that there are still a lot of different ways for him to provide for his family. For instance, he can probably find a job to earn for a living. Nonetheless, his filial piety towards his mother is one of the most memorable things for me. All the valuables he stole was to provide the best for his poverty family, but I couldn't agree to the extent that his mother was as if allowed him to steal from the others. Other than that, from what I have found from the internet, I was told that Jack's action stealing from the ogre is understandable as the ogre used to terrorize Jack's hometown, stealing and feasting on children. Therefore, I will be much obliged to confirm this statement with the author if only I have the opportunity to talk to him.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. So now, Hui Hui, what is the most important idea in this text?
Yes, in my opinion, the most important ideas in this text is the last third paragraph. Let me read for you guys. Down climbs Jet, and after he climbed the ogre. By this time, Jet had climbed down and climbed down and climbed down till he was very nearly home. So he called out, Mother, Mother, bring me an egg, bring me an egg.
Well, then, what happened next and why?
Nice. Yo, it seems like this passage attracts you. The next is Jack jumped down and got hold of the axe and gave a chop at the beanstalk, which cut it half in two. The old girl felt the beanstalk shake and quiver, so he stopped to see what was the matter. Then Jack gave another chop with the axe, and the beanstalk was cut in two and began to topple over. Then the ogre fell down and broke his crown, and the beanstalk came toppling after. In the end, Jack and his mother became very rich, and he married a great princess, and they lived happily ever after. Then why is this passage very important? Is because it makes you learn to think fast. It doesn't seem like Jack figured out an escape plan beforehand. So while he was being pursued by the giant, he had to come up with a way to keep the giant from getting to him. He was able to kill his mom for the axe before he got to the ground. Then he chopped down the beanstalk in just the nick of time. I admire Jack for his quick decisions. Sometimes we always hesitate to make a decision. This might be causing negative outcomes since the feeling itself is associated with things such as fear, lack of confidence, or overthinking. Hence, we should learn from Jack, who can make a quick decision and have a spirit of adventure.
Wow, that's great. Now, Ho, which word seems to have special meaning to the characters in the story?
According to me, the word "and" conveys special meaning in the story. In the passage, quote, "So Jack climbed and he 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 climbed until at last he reached the sky." End quote. I believe that the word "and" was being used repeatedly in the whole story by the author to emphasize that the gigantic beanstalk, and it took a lot of time for Jack to reach the top of the beanstalk. Besides, the repeated "and" also helps the readers to clarify and gives a clearer image for them to imagine the size of the beanstalk.
Well, now, Ho, is there any new word you find in the whole story? What are the denotative and connotative meanings for this word?
Yes, yo. I suppose the word "content" is the new word I learned from the story. Based on Cambridge Dictionary, the word "content" conveys that someone is pleased with his condition and not hoping for any change or improvement. Meanwhile, in the story, quote, "Well, Jack was not content, and it wasn't very long before he determined to have another try at his luck up there at the top of the beanstalk." End quote. Tell us that Jack wasn't satisfied with the bag of gold and the gold hen he stole from the ogre. Instead, he wanted to try another luck to get more valuables from ogre. The connotative meaning of this word, I believe, it shows that Jack is an avaricious person. He's never got enough and often has a strong wish to keep or get more money or possessions. He's willingly endangered his life to get more goods from the palace ogre.
Oh, okay. Ho, what can you sum up for the story?
In short, the whole story is about Jack, a poor country boy trades the family cow for a handful of magic beans which then grow into an enormous beanstalk reaching up into the clouds. Jack climbs the beanstalk and finds himself in the castle of an unfriendly giant. The giant senses Jack's presence and cries, "Fee, fee, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman." Outwitting the giant, Jack is able to retrieve many goods once stolen from his family, including an enchanted goose that lay and enchanted hens that lays golden eggs. Jack then escapes by chopping down the beanstalk. The giant, who is pursuing him, falls to his death, and Jack and his family prosper.
Well, now, does anyone have anything else to say?
Nope.
I guess no.
Well, then. Otherwise, we shall end this discussion here. Well, guys, I hope you have found our discussion informative and interesting. Thank you very much for your attention and participation. Catch you again later.
Bye-bye. Okay. Good morning, sir. Oh, good morning, sir. My name is Ho Yuki, and I am the discussion director and illuminator for this reading circle session. The gingerbread series is quite popularized among Americans. Why? The series turns readers into thinkers. America's primary teachers, a key focus of their reading instruction is on building comprehension. They want their young readers to not only use the strategies they have taught them, but to think deeply about what they are reading. They want their students to read closely and to connect to questions and visualize, and to make inferences that give meaning to the words on the page. These skills don't often come naturally, even to most fluent readers. They require targeted teaching and support. At this moment, I want to share with you guys some ways you can take readers deeper into these well-loved stories and how comparing versions of the gingerbread man can turn your readers into thinkers. So, I'm going to pick up a book from this educational series.
Wow, that's great. So, which book are we going to pick up today?
The book we are going to discuss today is The Little Gingerbread Man, written by Carol Moore. It is a children's tale that has been told for many years. The book is also alternately titled as The Gingerbread Man. Originally, the first appearance of the Gingerbread Man was issued in a cumulative tale which, like the Little Red Hen, depends on repetitious scenes featuring an ever-growing cast of characters for its effect. Not only that, it is a classic children's literature about a gingerbread man escapes from various pursuers and his eventual demise between the jaws of a fox in printed version, but it has been converted into multiple forms such as film adaptation and animation. After going through all the obstacles, the gingerbread man finally reunited with his family. What do you guys think the butterfly told the gingerbread man to run away with her? Besides, why do the children chase after the gingerbread man?
Well, my opinion is that the butterfly had good intentions all along. The butterfly knew that the gingerbread man didn't want to get eaten. He didn't want to be caught. He didn't want to be broken either. Apart from that, the gingerbread man was being pursued by the children because of its sweet, spicy smell made the children feel hungry. They wanted to eat the gingerbread man.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Personally, I suppose that the children were curious about the gingerbread man because it is maybe their first time encountering a moving gingerbread man. Besides, it might be a big possibility that they are starving gingerbread man for a long time. As we can know from the passage, the gingerbread man has a sweet and spicy smell which is the favorite taste of the children.
Hmm. Oh, I see. Yo, what do you think of this text? Quote, laughing, she answered, I love the smell of gingerbread. It's better than my favorite flowers, but I seek nectar, not gingerbread. Besides, you are my friend, and friends don't eat friends. And quote, told by the butterfly to the gingerbread man was about.
Well, I think the butterfly was actually trying to convince the gingerbread man that he can trust her. The gingerbread man's story's moral is slightly dark for a fable meant for children. Be careful who you trust. The cookie believed the fox when he said he wasn't tempted to eat him. This misguided trust led to the protagonist's downfall.
Well, Hui Hui, where was
Yes,
the gingerbread man going when the sly fox asked him to climb on its tail?
yes, Ho. The gingerbread man intended to cross a stream, as the string was a very big string to a tiny gingerbread man. So it needed the fox's help and so climbed on the fox's tail.
Yo, how did the butterfly save her friend gingerbread man?
Well, for this, she swooped into that fox's jaws, grabbing her friend by one leg and rescuing him from an awful fate. She flew higher and higher until the stream and the fox were spots on the landscape.
Hui Hui, what are
Mm.
the most important ideas or meaning in the story?
Yes, from my opinion, the important ideas in the story are the friendship between the gingerbread man and the butterfly. Friendship is expressed in this story when the butterfly becomes friends with the gingerbread man to protect him from being eaten. The butterfly represents loyalty and honesty. It also demonstrates that through loyalty in a friendship, one can attain success and happiness, and this is why I enjoy reading this story. By using animals as the main characters, it teaches the readers sensible traits that humans should have as well. Apart from that, we should not behave like the fox who did in the story. Moore also depicts the fox as clever and wily. He manipulates the gingerbread man to voluntarily climb into his mouth. The little gingerbread man reluctantly climbs onto the fox's nose. As the fox attempts to eat the gingerbread man, the butterfly ultimately saves him, another instance of his altruism and compassion. I believe most message for children audience is to avoid characters with that of the fox personality. Conversely, to be friends with the butterfly. By extension, children should also adapt a butterfly's personality rather than a fox.
Well, Ling has hit the nail on the head. She has made an absolutely convincing argument. I completely agree with it. Apart from that, I would also like to add that we should be careful who you trust and tell your problems to. Not every person who smiles at you is your friend. When you have a desire or a dream, be careful who you trust. Be careful who you share your yearnings with, because there are lots of people out there who want to put a dampener on your dreams. Those who want to get one up on you, and, of course, people who will judge you later for what you have achieved. One thing we all know is that it is not always easy to identify people who are trustworthy. Moreover, what we often do is to open up all our ideas and present them in their entirety to the people around us. We might open up before our parents or siblings and discuss with them our desire to achieve such and such a thing, to undertake such and such a journey, or to take a risk with a relationship.
Oh, I see. What other book or stories might you compare to this one?
Well, that's great. Recently, I've been reading a lot of thrillers and I was super excited by the idea of this book, Be Frightened by Ralph Arnold. What is the story about? Some secrets never leave us alone. The story is about a woman, Gemma Peacock. Her life was perfect, or at least she thought it was. She had a home she loved, a job she enjoyed, and a husband she adored. The only cloud on the horizon was the continuing tension between Gemma and her mother-in-law. But that's the same for everyone, right? After the death of her beloved husband Richie, everything begins to fall apart. Indiana Mano's life, on the other hand, is far from perfect, but she knows just what she has to do to fix it. Befriend Gemma Peacock and destroy her. For me, it sounded like it had a lot of potential to keep me on my toes and offer surprises around every corner. In some ways, I was right in that suspicion. There were certainly a lot of surprises throughout the book, and I wondered about Indiana's motivations through most of the story. While that sounds like a fantastic thing given the nature of the book, it sort of left me feeling like her character wasn't well developed. In fact, I felt that way about a lot of characters throughout the story. Their motivations seemed to shift on a whim, and their thoughts and feelings shifted just as quickly. And I'm not just talking about the characters with mental disorders. That subject, though, was also an issue for me with this book. We can see that the devil was once an angel. So be careful of who you trust.
Wow, it seems like a great story. Hui Hui, what would happen if Gingerbread Man didn't follow the butterfly to run away?
Yes, from my perspective, if the gingerbread man didn't follow the butterfly to run away, it would be eaten by the children or the old woman and her husband. Then the gingerbread man would not be able to be friends with the butterfly and also cannot live happily with his new gingerbread parents.
Hmm. How would you feel if you are the gingerbread man and butterfly?
Well, for me, if I am the gingerbread man, I will feel sorry for the butterfly. We should never run away from your family and people who love you. The people we're related to by blood and marriage are expected to be our closest allies, our greatest sources of love and support. Too often, however, our interactions with family are filled with misunderstanding and resentment, bickering and badgering. Those we should know and be known by best end up feeling like adversaries or strangers. Family is where our first and strongest emotional memories are made, and that's where they keep appearing.
Personally, I will feel a little bit angry at the gingerbread man because he prefers to believe the false than believe me if I am the butterfly. This also demonstrates that he does not believe my capability to carry him. Besides, I will also feel disappointed that he trusts the false works easily and don't even hear my opinion before he climbs onto the foxtail. But the gingerbread man may be worried about my wings because my wings seems like thin and delicate.
Hmm. Hui Hui, as a word watcher, which word seems to have special meanings to the characters in the story?
From my point of view, I think the word run has special meaning to the characters in the story. As we can see from the story, when the gingerbread man was chased by the other animals, he would yell, "Run! Run as fast as you can catch me, I'm the gingerbread man." So the word run was repeated in the story. Then why is it repeated? I think the author wants us to know that gingerbread man is able to run away from being eaten. We can clearly see that he is a proud character as he sings his simple song while running away from being chased by all the different characters in the story.
Oh, I see. Hui Hui, is there any new words you find in the whole story?
Yes, Ho, the new words that I find in the story is trout. Based on the Cambridge Dictionary, trout means that if a horse or similar animal with four legs trots, it runs at its slowest speed, using short steps in which a front leg and the back leg on the opposite side move together. This work makes me feel as if I can hear the horse moving right beside me. The author uses really wonderful verbs that describe the action going on the story. The action represented through the writing seems to show how the author was just as caught up in the action that she was writing about as her readers are.
Well, as an illuminator, in my opinion, quote, I outran children, I outran a horse, and I'll outrun you too. Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. End quote. Told by the gingerbread man on page 5 is very important because it portrays the perseverance of the little gingerbread man to run away from his enemies. I believe that the reason he shouted these words was to motivate himself to run faster in order to escape from the crowd chasing after him. Even though his enemies are enormous in size, stronger than him, and he was just a mere little cookie, he never gives up. Instead, always tries his best to flee. It seems to me that these words of encouragement successfully stimulate his two little feet to sprint swiftly, thus helping him get away from them. These passages about him escaping from his rivals is very interesting and important to me. It inspires me that one shall never easily give up and always strive your best to achieve your dream, though there are a lot of circumstances blocked in our way. As the saying goes by, what you sow is what you reap. We will eventually face the consequences of our action. If you are trying your best to achieve your dreams, in the end, you'll achieve something in return. Yo, what evidence in the passage tell us that the characters are having a conflict and what was the reason behind it?
Well, the gingerbread man is trying to run away so he won't get caught and eaten. The gingerbread man tries to cross a river by riding on the fox's back. Luckily, he isn't eaten by the sly fox.
Mm. Well, Ling, which is the important or the climax of the whole story and what makes them so important?
To my mind, the climax of the whole story is the fox throws the gingerbread man in the air, and the gingerbread man almost falls right into the fox's mouth. But the butterflies comes and swoops him up and takes him to a safe place deep in the forest. This is important because the gingerbread man was saved by the butterfly who is his true friend and he can live happily with his parents. We can notice that the gingerbread man is simply finding somewhere where he feels completely safe at the end of the story.
Yo, what question would you like to ask the author if you got a chance? Why?
Well, since The Gingerbread Man is a great gender neutral story, the gingerbread man is more biscuit than man, really. That means there's no reason for either gender to be put off by the content. So my question is, why does the little gingerbread man refer to as he?
Yo, what will happen if the gingerbread man gets wet?
Well, this is a good question. Now, we learned that cookies get soggy in water and fall apart. And now guess, what will happen in the next? The cookie becomes a dissolving gingerbread man.
Hmm, interesting. Can you think of some words to describe a fox? The fox? How about the gingerbread man? From my perspective, in children's literature, fox is often described as a bad character. Words like cunning, sly, cruel, annoying are best examples of words used to describe foxes. As I grew up, I always felt sorry for them as the fairy tales, children's stories have left stereotypical negative impressions of them since my childhood years. The image of foxes portrayed in stories isn't always a negative one. Instead, the fox, Nick, appeared in the well-known animation film called Zootopia isn't the bad one. On the other hand, I think words like determined, brave, courageous, and resolute are suitable to describe the gingerbread man as he bravely stood up to each and every of his rivals in the stories. Well, Hui Hui,
Yeah,
how do the old woman feel when the gingerbread man runs away? Why?
for sure. The old woman will feel astonished because she never imagined that the gingerbread man who she bet can be a living thing. She met this supernatural stuff for the first time.
Hmm, interesting. Hui Hui, what can we sum up in the story?
Yes, in short, the story begins with a little woman who loves to bake gingerbread cookies for the local neighborhood children. Then one day, she bakes a fresh batch of cookies and lays them near the window again. The second character, who is a butterfly that helps one of the gingerbread men escape from the cookie sheet. Once they are outside, the gingerbread man is soon chased by the hungry children. When he is running, he will say, "Run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man." He will say this over and over again when he is chased by the other animals. Throughout the book, he outruns his enemies until he nicks one of the animals, which is the wily fox, to help him across the river. He then finds out that he can't trust anybody except the butterfly. The butterfly then brings him to a place where he will live happily ever after.
Well, in a nutshell, I believe that all of us had comprehend the gingerbread man story in this reading circle session. I'm very grateful for all of your cooperation for making this a successful one. At the same time, I'm very delighted as I'm able to learn new knowledge and insights from you guys. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.